14 years. I've been with the Forest Service for 35. Okay. So, I've been in contact with several residents or landowners within Mayburg individually, reached out to folks periodically. We are working with other agencies, with elected officials. I fully recognize the importance of this structure to the Mayburg community. My supervisor, the regional forester for the Eastern Region of the Forest Service, who is based in Milwaukee, and her deputies who have been here and been under this bridge and seen the fracture critical members, want this bridge closed. It is a liability to the Forest Service. In a word, the Forest Service has 470 bridges in the Eastern Region on 17 national forests. This is probably the least important structure to the Forest Service because it does not access national forests, which is what our mission is. Okay, so you understand that.
They wouldn't have reflected it for the last 3 years.
Access roads are access. That's legal.
So
It isn't that.
Like him or
Forestry does own the top of the hill.
sure.
There are very many cars come up, go up on that hill to hunt, camp, this and that, on the Allegheny National Forest property. So this is an access
To get from here to there, they're not on national forest.
Yeah, but
So
it's
they're
an access to
accessing
get
it
there.
on Collins Pine property and across your properties when they go there. You can stop that access. If you can put a gate up right there if you want.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, okay, so now you'd have to have the agreement of that landowner to do it. But anyway, okay, so I did not intend to have a conversation today. I saw the ad the way many of you did. I thought I'll go down just to make sure that there's not an unsafe situation. I mean, maybe nothing I can do about it. As the district ranger here and recognizing, and I appreciate you taking me, I didn't want that either, but whatever, I'm here. So, recognizing the importance of this access to the community, we have done everything we can to work with local elected officials, with state agencies, to better understand what the options are here. If you believe that the Forest Service should have been maintaining this structure in a different manner, I have a lot of other roads and bridges that are within the Marionville district that do directly access national forest and they are on open public roads that I could show you that we do also need to do maintenance on. We only have so many dollars and we have to put them where we have our greatest need. Okay? So this is why the structure is the way it is. It was originally a railroad bridge. Many of you may know this. Built in 1905. These steel girders are darn strong, but they are also severely eroded. There you go. So this is taken when? 1930. So this is a strong. It was a strong bridge. And it remains a relatively strong bridge if it did not have those parts of it that were severely eroded. So you got one coming across.
This weird now.
I wish he'd answer the question that I asked. That's why we're here. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly,
We'd like to show.
Sure.
Okay, first of all, because you're on the inside of us, we understand that they want to get rid of the property. We just want to repair that Kingsley or Hobbs, somebody got to take it over. We understand that. But the only way we can do this is get the people awareness, congressman, everybody say, look, this is what you got to do. We have 14 people live here, you can't shut them out.
So you will find. So please understand. I understand. All of those folks are involved and interested and are knowledgeable about this situation and concerned. Okay, they recognize that there are, whether there's 14 or there's 7, the townships, they acknowledge 7 permanent residents here. I know that the residents here acknowledge 14 to 20 that they consider to be permanent residents. That's neither here nor there necessarily. Okay. Okay, you're one of the permanent residents?
Yep.
Okay. What's your name, sir?
Rick.
Rick Robsell. Nice to meet you, Rick. And I'm sorry for your situation.
I know it's not you.
Oh, come on, Jesus, come on.
Yeah. Well,
For an on-access road, it's pretty
Yeah,
used.
yeah, really. You have a camp here, then we're charging you to go over the bridge.
Toll bridge.
Drive over the bridge, see if they're the ones that make it fail. So.
Yeah.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes, sir.
a while back, maybe some of you remember, about this camera right here. This was taken by a company which I assume that you paid for because you own the bridge. And they took core
Sure.
samples here and all three points.
Sure.
And I asked them for some of them. They said that this is on a creek bed. This is right into a creek bed. This right here. And the pillars all in bed, sitting on a creek bed on solid rock. That was their conclusion. And I was
Sure.
gonna watch it. And
It's not the abutments. It's not the abutments that we're concerned about. Okay.
So he never did answer your question.
Nope,
Are
not
they
yet.
closing the bridge? Yeah.
All right. So look, just as a matter of fact, it's not relevant to this because it's been a long time since I've done this. But my profession is civil engineer. I was a road and bridge engineer for the Forest Service for the first 20 years of my career. I'm telling you that. I cannot say to you that at 6.1 tons, this bridge is going to fail. But I can tell you that every time something over 6 tons crosses this bridge, it aggravates the fracture critical members of the bridge. Right below you, where everybody was standing earlier, right here, you can see how this is separated. There is a concrete abutment and a platform that these girders sit on. The girders have eroded to the point that it is not full bearing on that abutment. You want to crawl under there and look, you will see how it has eroded over time, and that only a portion of the metal is actually sitting on the concrete. For each millimeter that is not in contact with the abutment, that is 1 millimeter less of the design of how this structure operates and how it holds the weight that it holds. Whether that weight is static and that is people standing on it, or a vehicle crossing it, which is dynamic and adds a vibrational aspect to how those fracture critical members are impacted, it all adds up over time, and it makes that fracture critical member, that's part of it's just sitting on air. And every time that happens, or every time that metal tends to erode some more or corrode some more, and that wave action of a vehicle going over makes it that much weaker. So it's not as if I could tell you it's going to fail tomorrow, but I can tell you it could. And every time a vehicle goes over it, it aggravates that situation one tiny bit more.
Which part can go?
Right here.
This could go here.
Right here.
This could go right into the creek.
Well, the thing is that it may not be a catastrophic failure, right? It may not be the whole bridge just disappears, right? It may be that this drops, okay? This thing just drops off. Or, now we did our last inspection last Tuesday. We had 2 engineers out here. They couldn't check the 2 center piers. So the biggest issue here is not only are the steel girders corroding, but all the concrete facing has spalled off. Originally, these concrete abutments were about twice as wide as they are now.
How come they couldn't check the 2 girders in there?
The water was up too high, so they have to be able to go over or drop down. These guys didn't have a sniffer truck or anything like that to go over.
There's no alarm to go to.
Still don't know
They
when
were
it's
not equipped to do that.
or
They
if.
were basically going to have waiters they were going to walk over. This was right after.
Right here is deeper than the well. This is one you think
This is the most critical member of the bridge.
you put steel plates across it?
So there's all kinds of things. Well, let me tell you this. So
Figure is that in the way with steel plates.
it's like having a meeting in the subway. Well, we realize it. Okay. So we've asked we actually not only we contracted out two inspections to private consulting structural engineers as well as our own bridge inspectors, and then we contracted out what would it cost us to do a repair on the structure just to stabilize it. And part of it is the running surface obviously needs to be repaired, and some of these deck boards are pretty rotted.
You said you're going to do some of that?
No, I'm saying that's what we investigated. But the bigger cost is what do we do with the girders themselves? You're going to have to come across.
We understand it, but right now, why would we just mix a couple of pieces of wood?
I'm not saying that we couldn't. I'm just
I
telling you.
understand that. I fixed it 2 years ago.
Not saying anything.
We purchased that block of wood and we put my fault. I'm overloaded. Yes. I left the dump truck at home.
Okay. So without going into too much more detail about this, yes, we did investigate what it would take to basically repair the structure. So if we repaired the girders, it would improve the overall weight limit on the bridge. It still wouldn't meet any kind of standards, for a township or a county or the state to come in and do a full-out repair or even a bridge replacement. So to replace this bridge at the cost that would involve PennDOT. So PennDOT would have to restore the bridge to a PennDOT standard. We're talking close to $4 million. Okay, to repair the bridge.
$1.5 million.
That's fine. So that's probably not involving PennDOT. Okay, so if you want state funds to be part of that, and you want PennDOT to be part of that, they have to build the bridge to a particular standard. Now they can modify that, but here's the most important thing: PennDOT is not going to participate in this because this is not a public road. Okay, this, what we're standing on right now, is not a public road. That is over there. It has to be a public road on both sides for PennDOT to be a play. Okay, so there are other possibilities. One is the potential to do some repairs on this structure, and just the minimum repairs for us to do to deal with the girders. It's not a question of, okay, can we put a Band-Aid on the girders and hope that works for the next 50 years? Okay, if we put a Band-Aid on the girders to do something on that girder or that girder, to make it a useful, a sustainable repair, we're talking $500,000. Okay, so that's $500,000. If we divide that amongst the 120 landowners here, that's somewhere, I don't know what that is, about $7,000 to $8,000 a landowner. Maybe it's more. My math wasn't good. I just did it off the top of my head. So, so that's a pretty significant investment without any clear nexus of responsibility. Should it be the Forest Service, which has no place to go with this bridge, right? Okay. That was back in the day. Well, the Forest Service never did because we never did the land purchase.
And like I said, when the road wasn't cleared up above, this is where they hold on.
Sure. When Collins Pine did that. Okay, that was Teddy Collins. That dates back to the 1820s.
They were hauling lumber across here in 1970. I've been here since 1969.
I've been Collins
I
Pine.
watch those trucks come across.
Okay.
My main concern, I think I can speak for a lot of people, here's our biggest concern. Okay, rumors go fast.
Sure.
We understand that, how that works. So we're worried about nobody wants to shut down. We have people who live here, we have people who pay taxes, stuff like that. So our main thing is, maybe employees, what we do, you work with us, which we're trying to do.
Yep.
You get somebody come up here, put a little lumber up here, the wood just a little bit. You help the people out so they're going to flat tire. This guy got a motorcycle who rides across here, people got cars, they get flat tires, stuff like that. They help us out until we get this all settled. This is what it's about.
Yeah. All right.
That's
So,
the main thing.
all right now.
That's part of it. Yeah, that's part of it.
53 years they've been.
I understand that. I was here when they offered us a dollar. The school was over. The church was over.
I'll give it to anybody right now for $1 if you want it. So.
They offered us $1 over.
Okay. Now, look, I perfectly appreciate if folks want to get angry about what the Forest Service did or didn't do here. I just want you to understand what this bridge does not do on the National Forest. It does not provide access to the National Forest.
They were supposed to maintain it, though.
Well, it has been maintained over the years periodically. We're just doing inspections, and that's part of the reason why part of the cost to a township. The township, which can get funding specifically for its roads and for its bridges based on the miles of road and feet of bridge it has. Part of the cost is doing the inspection, getting a licensed engineer out here.
You did it 2 or 3 times a year. Shit, we could have bridge it after 5 years.
Typically,
Reason why we need it.
yes.
On March 10th, just a month ago, that road up there was impassable. The bridge is closed.
No, it's open.
Well, you said it might be closed.
Well, it's open at the
If
moment.
we were at October this coming year, this bridge would be closed, and that road is closed. Now, how these people are going to get in on it?
I understand the nature of the problem.
March 10th. Now, there's another thing. Have you gone?
Sir,
Have you gone up to the road along Kingsley Run? The erosion of the road. The road is and I sent you a picture of it. The road is only 10 feet wide. That's it. For a vehicle. It's 12 feet wide, but it's 10 feet wide for the vehicle, and it's getting smaller. All we need is a big rain. Kingsley comes down here and the road's a little bit more.
Guess
Now,
what's going to happen to your property value?
you're not going to even have a road.
We're worried about safety. You have people live here.
That road is eroding as we speak.
Okay. So technically, the road on Kingsley Run belongs to whoever that adjacent landowner is. It is not. And once again, I will tell you, the National Forest is a mile and a half further up the hill.
I know where the sign
Okay.
is.
Regardless, you guys still own the bridge. At 53 years of neglect does not negate your guys' responsibility to maintain it. Regardless of whether it goes to national property or not.
All right.
It's
I'll
your
tell
guys'
you what.
bridge.
I'll tell you what. All your arguments are your arguments, and that is fine. I can stand here and say we have had ownership of this structure for 53 years. You can
So you
argue.
maintain, how did you guys maintain this in the last 20 years? I've never seen you guys do anything down here. Except I understand you're saying the cost involved in inspecting it, but the physical maintaining, you guys haven't done anything.
I'll tell you what. Let's once these guys clear out.
Okay, thank you.
I want to tell you what the next steps are, if I may. If I may, I'm going to put these.
What is the next step?
Thanks. Okay. So my understanding is that the residents and camp owners here in Mayburg are having a meeting at 2 o'clock today. The person we've been communicating with to communicate with you is Colleen Christian, as a Mayburg Facebook page. I understand that there's a GoFundMe page, and you may have legal representation. That I don't know, and that's perfectly fine. That's up to you guys. I've asked Colleen to identify a representative group of the Mayburg community to meet with the Forest Service and other officials sometime in late April or early May, so that we can lay out in more detail what the situation is, what our proposal is, and what the options are. And I will, excuse me, I will say that until we have fully developed those, I can't really say what they are. I can only tell you this. Been a ranger here for 14 years. I have been through most of this district, actually all of it at some point or another. I fully understand the aspect of what do I do to get to my property if this goes away. I can't use that road up there in its current condition unless I have a four-wheel drive vehicle and I want to put chains on it, and that's hit and miss too, depending on the time of year. And it's also dependent on Collins Pine continuing to allow you to do that. We have maintained an open public road above that, Forest Road 180D and Forest Road 180. And by the way, the management of those roads is for access to the National Forest.
Right now it's closed down.
And the standard of those roads are a lower standard than we would have on state highway or even in a campground. They're predominantly for logging trucks. Logging trucks used it this spring. They caused some damage, and there were folks out repairing the road on Wednesday of this week, and they continue to do so. So my hope is that we can come up with some kind of working solution that will address the immediate needs of the residents and landowners here in Mayburg, and give us enough time to reach a more permanent solution for access to the community. So I understand if we just put a road closed sign on this, or if we put barriers on here, and believe me, it's our understanding that legally we can do so, that we close off this bridge or begin dismantling the bridge. That's my hope is that that's not where we have to go. But if that's ultimately we have one more fracture critical inspection that's going to be occurring in May or June, and at that point, if those engineers say that this bridge is in imminent danger of failure, then I may have no choice but to close the bridge. I was actually told to close the bridge last winter, and I asked for more time because I didn't want to close off the community in the middle of winter. I wanted it at least you had some time over the course of the summer to develop other options. And I want you to know also that Collins Pine is a very willing partner here. They are aware also of the aspect of this road and that road providing access. They have their own interests that they have to attend to and their own mission, and they will do what they can within that to help provide access. I'm not going to commit for Collins Pond. I just want you to know that they are participating and they are interested and they are equally concerned as a company and as a neighbor.
They use it for years, they should.
Sure. Well, this is their road.
Just
so,
this section, I understand.
And I'll tell you right now, they're not hauling timber over this thing and any time in the recent
But
past.
they did
So
for years.
sure.
That they paid for permits, somebody somewhere put that money somewhere else. But we know it's gone. So the main thing is, like I say, concern is the people here, like I say, we don't want to shut down, whatever we can do. You know, we'll be at the governor's office, we'll be
Sure.
down the congressman's office, we've done that. You know, we got a couple out there around the city, he's helping us out a little bit.
Okay.
You know, so he's interested in it too, we don't want to shut down.
What would you recommend? You say you don't want to see it shut down. What do you think is best? What's the action to take?
I will tell you that I can be clearer on that when we meet with the representatives. So I think if you're meeting at 2 o'clock with Colleen and with other residents, I would say identify a representative group, 10 to 15 people. We want it to be a working meeting so that we can get some things done and lay a path forward within as much leeway as I have to do so, as we as the National Forest have to do so. My boss, our forest supervisor, she is also equally concerned and has given me a lot of leeway in order to help come up with some kind of solution. And yes, I'll be here at the meeting. That's the whole point. Is I'll be at the meeting and talking about what the next steps are for the Forest Service.
Oh, you go up 2 o'clock?
No, not at 2 o'clock. No. That's for you guys. That's for you guys to figure out how you want to identify your representatives. We'll be meeting later in April or in early May. I asked Colleen to come up with 3 dates, and then we'll try to coordinate that with other folks who we want to have to participate. Yes, I remember that very well.
Working group is supposed to
Yes. And I continue to meet with, so there really wasn't a point of pulling that group together. I tried to do that, but because we didn't actually get any traction with the folks that we needed to get